exciting. Michael Bergerac, a player who's very well known against for people who've been in the community for a long time, just dominating up in the Northeast in the United States, and very exciting to see him back in the action here, and is going to be doing that with the Radiant Charizard version of the Lost Box.
Doesn't look like the only one that's going for that Radiant Charizard Lost Box, though, version. Of course, there is going to be the variations in the lists a little bit and how this is going to be running on, but other than that, pretty close mirror.
Yeah, this is going to be exciting. Alex has had plenty of this deck under his belt. He's been trying to use this Radiant Charizard time and time again. We've seen plenty of iterations. He used a cape of toughness, trying to do all sorts of crazy things, and it looks like this is going to be a little bit of a spicy list. We see some cool inclusions there for sure.
So then, cool inclusions aside, though, at this moment, where is the difference maker with this mirror and these two Lost Box decks going up against each other? Or is it all in the inclusions? It's all about that one card that's going to make that difference.
Yeah, I think you can see it. It really just depends on when you're able to get these cards into the Lost Zone. If you can start to use a card like that Sableye, both players featuring 2 in this list, it would be fantastic. That Snorlax would be very nice for Alex, as it can be very beneficial in a matchup like this, but we're going to see that in the prize cards.
Yeah, and on the other end, Mirage Gate, a couple energies, Escape Rope, a couple of switching options actually. And you see with these Lost Box decks just how important those switch options are. Surely you do play a lot of them. You're going to have the Scoop Up, you're going to have the switch and Escape Rope. But when this engine is designed on how fast you can be switching to make sure you're getting all these cards in the Lost Zone as fast as possible, if you're not able to draw into them as fast as you want, it could sting a little.
Well, we will see if those are the right prize cards at the right time. It looks like we're going to start things off here with Alex Schemanske and that Hisuian Heavy Ball. It's going to take a peek at those prize cards and say, ooh, I like that Snorlax.
Hey, you're talking about the fact that it was not necessarily the greatest that the Snorlax was stuck in the prizes, and that's a really big pro of this Hisuian Heavy Ball, just to make sure, hey, I don't want to wait until I randomly draw into this. We're going to grab that right here, right now, and that's why it's such a strong card.
It's great to see that early on here, and we will see Alex starting to use the flower selectings and to get those cards into the Lost Zone. Very important that you're able to get the numbers early on. You want to make use of that Cramorant if you can, and eventually start working in that Sableye and get a lot of damage spread going, but this is not ideal.
Yeah, ideally you would want to use that flower selecting a couple of times, maybe have that retreat into a Comfey so you can flower selecting again and just keep on rolling, but at least there's bench options down and you're not risking yourself getting donked by anything that Michael can do at this point. Flower selecting to start off with, and that is going to be an energy into the discard. Pretty big hand here. Bringing the Pokegear to the front, eyeing up whether to play it. Being able to give this chance to get the supporter off of 7 is really nice, though.
Yeah, the Colress Experiment would be fantastic here, and does find that. It's going to be a perfect find. We did see in the hand for Michael that there was an additional Comfey, I believe, and a switching effect, but valued using this Pokegear first to find the Colress's Experiment, get additional cards into the hand, and then start to make those niche decisions later on.
And that's a nice way to be able to sequence things as well. Sometimes people like to go the other way about it, but if you get the cards that you need first, you're not having to make those really difficult decisions come time to flower selecting and throw one of those into the Lost Zone, because then it is gone forever. Now, Chorus Experiment, be able to look at 5, pick 3, and throw 2 into that Lost Zone.
Yep, and the decisions continue here as we see that the Battle VIP Pass is found. That could be a nice card to use in the opening turns, of course, get those Pokemon down, but you also start to wonder what resources do you value the most here, and the Ordinary Rod was pitched early on from Alex. We'll see if Michael believes the same here.
Yeah, of course, later on in the match, the Battle VIP Pass is a really easy one to be throwing away, but since it is the first turn, it can be so strong. You can only use it on the first turn, and being able to grab 2 basic Pokemon, put them right onto your bench, you can start setting up your Comfeys, you can start setting up your attackers. It's so strong.
Oh, we're looking at an opportunity here for Michael. If just one more card can hit the Lost Zone, then Cramorant could be taking the knockout here on this Radiant Charizard. The weakness would be applying here, and it looks like there's plenty of ways to do just that. Multiple Pokemon could be found here off the Battle VIP Pass, plenty of searching effects too, and Michael's going to take his time here, making sure to understand every single one of those prize cards.
got to make sure you have everything in order. You didn't have the advantage of having that Hisuian heavy ball on that first turn to go and check things out. So you got to go and check the deck itself. Make sure that you have the attackers you need. You have that energy. You have the Sable Eyes to be closing out the end of that game.
See what else is going to be found here for Michael on this opening turn. Of course, making sure that your Snorlax is there is going to be impactful too. The earlier that you can get this down, the better. It's nice to have that as an option as soon as your Mirage Gate is potentially available, or even if you can find that one of Twin Energy and just get an energy attachment down onto this Snorlax early on, you start to feel pretty comfortable that you'll be able to make some good use of this Thumping Snore and maybe not have to deal with the damage counters that your opponent will be facing.
Switch cart for another flower selecting. That'll be a quick ball quickly pitched away into the lost zone and picking up a scoop up net instead. And considering another Comfey is going down, sure we'll be able to see that. Or another effect. This is not only going to be Michael being able to swap around the Comfeys, but also forcing something out into the active from Alex's end.
We are at 5 now into the lost zone. Cramorant going to be pitched. We already see one in the hand, but also the Sableye here as well, and I think that Michael would like to see a couple more cards, and yeah, there's no reason to get aggressive and attack into a Snorlax at this point. It's not even going to be a knockout. Your opponent plays Scoop Up Net. Just take your time, try to find some more cards like that Comfey, and if you find another Colress Experiment, you'll be in a very solid start here.
Yeah, we have there's a couple of magic numbers that you want to hit with this Lost Box deck. 4, 7, 10. Already 5 in the Lost Zone. Really close to being able to have that Mirage Gate online as opposed to the one from Alex Schemanski's end. But having that Colress Experiment to open things up is definitely going to be nice to start getting closer to a couple of those magic numbers himself.
We do see the switch card in hand. I think we saw that signaled by Alex, just the retreat of the Comfey last turn. The Radiant Charizard was going to be just promoted as a sacrifice, but sure enough, not going to be the case after that escape rope. And looks like there's more Comfeys lined up here. We do see that quick ball in hand, so Alex could start to get the ball rolling, but it doesn't look as clean as Michael's turns have been.
Yeah, at the point where decisions kind of have to be made here, going to get rid of what looks like a Sableye to instead grab a Cramorant and be able to put that onto the bench, of course, being able to attack with that Spit Innocently with only 4 cards in the Lost Zone.
Yeah, it does feel nice to take prize cards in a matchup like this. You would love to get through the deck a little further, but just hasn't really been able to do just that. I suppose there is some merit to not playing down too many Comfeys in the early game. As we know, both players are featuring the Galarian Zigzagoon, and in combination with Sableye, that can lead to many 2-prize knockouts as you can take both those Pokemon out at the same time.
Yeah, so just safer play. You get your 1 prize and just take away a Comfey away from Michael's end. We'll promote a different one into the active, though, and just keep the train rolling. Very easy decision. Battle VIP pass to the Lost Zone, and very close to being able to have that Mirage Gate online.
Is that the best flower selecting that you can have? Because you get to throw away a card that's completely useless and find a Colress's Experiment. That's exactly where you want to be.
Hey, sometimes the flower selecting giveth and sometimes it taketh. For every easy decision that you get, there's going to be those impossibly difficult decisions where you know that either way, you're not in a nice spot whatsoever. And so close now with that Colress Experiment, you'll be able to get so much more to get your hand rolling and 2 more into the Lost Zone.
Yeah, sometimes you have to let the flower select you.
Oh, no. No. All right, Colress Experiment. We're going to move. We're going to keep on moving. Get a Scoop Up Net from there, and it looks like maybe a bosses that was gotten rid of?
Well, I see that the Mirage Gate is not going to be something that's too prominent here for Michael, and doesn't worry about the Raihan either. That can be a card that you use if you're trying to accelerate that Radiant Charizard a little earlier on, or just try to get that additional basic energy onto the Snorlax. It's already there, so no need to worry about that just yet, but we do see that at least 8 are in the Lost Zone now. Comfey's going to try to help out, and maybe that means we'll see Sableye a little sooner than we were expecting.
Going to keep the Poke Gear. So good for being able to get those supporters and pitch the Hisuian Heavy Ball at this point. And yeah, if there's enough turns of just those manual attachments, you already have that 4 that you can go with the Cramorant, and now just at 9 for the Lost Zone, so close to just having that 1 on the Sableye to be able to attach in that manner as well.
Well, you have to expect that Michael would love to see a card like that Twin Energy here if he was able to feature the Snorlax early on, start taking big knockouts, and only have to worry about cards like Cramorant. That'd be fantastic. Tough decision here. Yeah, the Radiant Charizard is going to go down as number 10.
That one feels like it hurts just a little bit just because it is the Radiant Charizard and it is gone forever. But between the Snorlax and the Sableye as well as Kramer, it's definitely a lot of different ways that you can go about playing this and then not really have to worry about that really heavy attack cost that the Charizard has.
I certainly agree. It feels nice to have the Sableye ready to go here on only the second turn now. Have the big attacks lined up and have the Radiant Charizard in the active spot. It means that a switching effect's going to be used, and it's not making use of a flower selecting. So just resources lost here for Alex as they could have been potentially found, and it's not the case anymore.
And you were talking about the fact that, sure, don't commit too many confies, but now at a point where the only confie that was on the bench is now in the discard, and with only 4 in the loss zone, sure, maybe the Cramorant can do much else, but having the confie to be able to go through your deck as well as be able to pitch more into the loss zone is definitely nice. Twin Energy, though, on Alex's end will be found and attached to that Snorlax.
Yeah, it's a bit of a double-edged sword because your opponent can just start to pick away if they have a really strong opener like this Sableye that we see here for Michael, and gets to target down on these Pokemon earlier than expected. And Alex is caught sleeping, so nothing else to do other than use Spit innocently and continue to stay in the prize exchange.
I mean, as long as you can stay in the prize exchange, though, I mean, it definitely could be worse. There's these one prizers, you are kind of getting the time to slowly just build up these energy because with this Cramorant, with these Sableyes, you're able to just at least take a prize off of there, so you're not actually really finding yourself too far behind, it seems.
Yeah, this isn't terrible, of course. We get to see at least some damage is going to stick around, and that's the residual that Michael's looking for. Just something to show for the fact that he has played 10 cards into the loss zone, has been working to get this Sableye going, but maybe it is time to start using Cramorant and just save yourself some heartbreak here, because we're not seeing the Twin Energy for Snorlax just yet.
Yeah, and another flower selecting wasn't quite giving that, so switch card, but instead of trying with the other Comfey, instead going to promote this active Sableye to just yet again go for these damage counters on both these Cramorants.
It looks like we're going to see knockout in the active, and this Cramorant's going to be promoted. And Michael is continuing to burn through the deck and try to find the right cards, but they're just not lining up right now. And this doesn't feel the best as you're losing a Sableye and a Psychic Energy every single time. It's just a Cramorant on the other side of the board.
Well, it's a Cramorant. You also the Snorlax that's actually being able to build up that energy, the Twin Energy that I'm sure Michael's looking at and just being like, why can't that be me?
That looks so nice. And I think Alex really does have a great opportunity here now with this Snorlax, as one of the best answers to a Snorlax can be the Radiant Charizard, and we know that's in the loss zone for Michael here, so a bit awkward when this Pokemon gets promoted. Maybe this is why Michael's been holding on to Cramorants. We'll have to find out.
And now a Sableye being benched with an energy on Alex's side. Of course, isn't able to quite use that yet, but is slowly but surely making progress at getting these cards into the loss zone that maybe one day we can go for that Sableye.
Yeah, one of these days. Well, maybe it's coming sooner rather than later, as Colress's experiment's going to help out. A card like a Galarian Zigzagoon could certainly line up some really cute plays, but I don't think we're going to see that just yet.
No, and being able to get the Battle VIP Pass, easy decision, as well as the Choice Belt, 2 easy decisions. That's only profit here going into that Colress's Express, and now have that lucky number 10 to bring the Sableye online. To either go with that or just keep on going with the Cramorant.
As long as you don't play that Temple of Sinnoh down, I think we feel pretty good, as I don't want to be attacking with a Snorlax and then realize that I don't have enough energies.
Yeah, that's not going to be the ideal situation. It'll be a different stadium going down in place. That Magma Asin can attach a fire energy from discard to one of their benched fire Pokemon, pairing really nicely with that Radiant Charizard.
Alex looking like he knows exactly what he's doing here. He has 3 attackers lined up, ready to go, even a 4th if you want to consider this Cramorant, which I don't think we're going to see sticking around too often. But the prize race is now in Alex's favor, and I don't see exactly where the prize cards are going to come for Michael at this stage. We've seen multiple Sableyes down, and this Twin Energy is nowhere to be found.
Yeah, that's kind of That's kind of a rough blow. Being able to get the Colorless Experiment off of the flower selecting, though, is another opportunity to at least be trying to go through this deck and be able to grab that out, being able to grab 3 more cards, but not getting this energy combined with the fact that you're just 1 behind in this prize crate consistently hurts a little bit.
Well, one benefit of using a ton of Sableyes early is that Clara can just bring them all right back to your hands, and the resources continue to build up here. And we'll see if maybe there's an opportunity to remove this Sableye from play and get some additional damage down onto the Cramorant and make the prize exchange go back into Michael's favor. Galarian Zigzagoon going to try to help out in that situation.
Yeah, of course, being able to play it down. You can put 1 damage counter onto one of your opponent's Pokemon, and sure, 1 damage counter. That 1 damage counter can really just make all of that difference going into this.
Yeah, we can see right now, perfect math lined up. 50 hit points remaining on the Cramorant, 70 on the Sableye. That's a double knockout. Michael is going to go ahead and take 2 prize cards here, and Alex is going to have to get the job done now, deciding which Pokemon to promote, and wants to rely on the Snorlax to close things out. I think this is a strong play, as this can be a tough Pokemon, especially when you have Roxanne.
Roxanne is such a good play in this position. Of course, both players have to shuffle their hand into their deck. You get to draw 6 and your opponent draws 2 cards. I mean, we've talked about how people can brick after those Marnie draws and only getting 4. What about only getting 2?
Roxanne is a lie, and we'll see. We'll see if it actually does what it's supposed to do.
That sounds a little personal to you at that point. You've been on the wrong side of a Roxanne draw 1 too many times here.
She's burned me.
We'll have to see if it's enough in this situation, because with the double prize turn, Alex is a little bit behind in this prize trade. Sure, there's Pokemon to be able to attack with on the bench, but if there's always going to be a return, you're still behind.
Looks like Radiant Charizard can get the job done here with the Excited Heart ability, making that Combustion Blast available to be used, and quick prize card will be taken there. Michael now gonna need a little bit of help here from flower selecting or the top of the deck as we see the Colress's Experiment. Are you kidding me?
All right, now I see how Roxanne maybe has burned you one too many times, because that Colress Experiment, there wasn't too much else going on in the hand as long as the flower selectings didn't pan out. But that Colress Experiment, definitely a good way to refresh, try and get some energy, try and get a good attacker going on, and make sure that there is a response to that knockout that Alex was able to take.
Wow, even finds the Mirage Gate here. The Snorlax could potentially start to get into play here and start taking some knockouts. Curious to see what this exchange looks like now, because there's a lot of hit points on the other side of the board for Alex now, and Michael is down that big resource of the Radiant Charizard. So how do you get back into a position like this? Do you have to work in the Cramorant now and then have Snorlax to return knockout of Snorlax? This is, I guess it gets a little tricky.
As long as we can find the energy for the Snorlax, because Michael has not had the greatest luck going into that, but there it is. Off of the Colress's Experiment, we'll be able to have that twin energy to be able to have a way to actually use the Snorlax to try and close out a game.
Yep, a nice card to see there. We did see the Mirage Gate as well, so if the energies were in the deck, those could be accelerated too. Maybe just a little worried about the Temple of Sinnoh. Curious to see if that is something on Michael's mind here, as these lists are pretty similar, and I think both players are featuring that one of Temple.
And not knowing exactly what your opponent has in terms of those tech cards to make sure that their matchup is going to be good. You want to be able to play, you want to make sure that you're playing it safe at any turn in the road, because that's the last thing you want to do is get yourself set up and find just one stadium is going to be the resulting loss of that. The Colress Experiment as well as another card thrown away into the loss zone. And now we'll have to see from Michael where he wants to prioritize attacking back onto Alex.
So impressive for Michael to get the setup that he had with all of those Comfeys used in the beginning of the game and still have 2 scoop-up nets remaining here. Going to go ahead and use one of those, and has one as a flex option. Maybe some extra damage is going to be needed from a Galarian Zigzagoon, or you just want to avoid some awkwardness with which Pokemon is stuck in the active spot. Double tails, so Snorlax definitely not going to be helping out right now.
It always feels a little worse when it's the double tails. You don't even get that moment of hope thinking that you might wake up. It's like, no, you're extra asleep. You're extra not doing anything, but at least plenty of switch options to regardless of the dice roll, be fine. So now it's just that Snorlax over on Alex's end, but it has to see what else can be grabbed. It will be a Zigzagoon off of that Quick Ball, though.
Yet, Galarian Zigzagoon has 70 hit points. Comfey has 70 hit points. If we could see a card like Sableye get into the mix here, along with one scoop-up net, there might be enough here to take 2 prize cards.
Just have to see if the math can do the thing, but a Comfey being able to be put into the active. Alex definitely looking and trying to see what can be got. It will be a scoop up net, but it will be to pick up that Comfey, put that Snorlax back into that active spot and looking at that fire energy attached to it.
Yep, the 4th energy, that opens up a retreat later on if necessary, but we're going to see the thumping Snore. Big knockout here on the opposing Snorlax. Michael going to try to find a way to attack into this Pokemon and get some relevant damage, but this isn't the prettiest.
Yeah, nothing else bench on Alex's side. Basically, you have to be hitting through this Snorlax. This is the one that you have to take out. There's no escape rope. There's no getting to any of my benched Pokemon. You're not taking down one of my Comfeys. So now Michael has to find a big response, because at this point in time, the damage just quite isn't there.
Yeah, we don't see any of those Roxannes right now. I think there is a one of, and it's found off the flower selecting.
All right. So now we'll have to see, you know, earlier on Alex went for the Roxanne and Michael was able to get that top deck courses experiment off of it. So if Michael wants to go for it in return, we'll have to see whereabouts we're standing with our good grace and our karma if Alex is able to draw out of that one.
This is so close. Both of these players doing everything they can to put themselves in contention to maybe lock up day 2 as early as this round here in round number 7. Roxanne going to be coming down, and the Cramorant is feeling pretty good here with a Spit innocently lined up. Would just love to see a dead roll on the other side for Alex.
And that's all it's going to come down to at this point, too, because if Alex is able to draw out of this, be able to throw something on the bench and go for some sort of swap option, like that double swap to bring the Snorlax back over to attack, he's got the game. And if he doesn't, he just draws, well, then Michael has the game. It's really, really coming down to the wire.
And the double heads is also available, I suppose.
Oh, that's also an we've seen a lot of double heads today. I don't know if
I can't take it! Snorlax wakes up, and that is a huge knockout here for Alex Schemanske. What a way to close out game number 1. And you can see the smile through the mask. Incredible way to close out.
All off of a roll. When you're rolling the 2 dice, I'm thinking, no, we got to go for the swap. There's no way this thing's going to be waking up in time, especially knowing some people's luck, it's not going to ever wake up when you need it to. But a little bit of that anime arc on Alex's side. There's been so many top cuts, so many opportunities he was close to getting the prize that the Snorlax is like, you know what, you can have this one.
I think the plot armor is starting to reveal itself. Alex Schemanske is made to play in the top 8 here. Of course, maybe we're looking a little too far ahead, but what a way to close out and get that opening win here in what looks to be a fantastic mirror match. Both these players know exactly what they're doing. Michael is just left in an awkward spot, having to throw away that Radiant Charizard in the middle of the game and just didn't have an answer for that Snorlax. Alex did everything that he needed to, and double heads is going to mean the difference here.
Still can't believe, though, how close that was just between that prize race, just between those KOs being taken over and over and Michael being able to pull ahead with being able to grab those 2 prizes on that 1 turn thanks to that Galarian Zigzagoon, and just these little decisions and how impactful it can be in this match where it is just these 1 prize attacking decks going up against each other.
It is so important when you play down these Pokemon, and if you overbench at a certain spot, if you don't have the scoop up nets to close out, it really shows itself, and looks like both players had a great understanding of that and gave themselves opportunities to win.
Now going into this game 2, Alex to start, both players starting with this Comfey, and Alex not only just starting with the Comfey, but able to put a Sableye onto the bench.
Nice to see there. Galarian Zigzagoon going to make its way down too, and at least get one damage counter down. Don't know how relevant that's going to be. I think it was more so that you could promote this Pokemon into the active spot.
Make sure that with Michael going second at this point, there isn't the 4 cards. It is very possible to get those 4 cards into the lost zone, that all of a sudden your Comfey isn't going down to a spit innocently from a Cramorant, and you're, oh, well, I have a Sableye that's useless for the longest amount of time. So it's super nice. Michael able to grab the Battle VIP pass as well. That's great card to see on the first turn.
Yeah, I don't think Alex wants to be known as the guy who just retreats and promotes random Pokemon after Comfeys, but it's worked last game. He's going to try it again, and it feels awkward, but it definitely can work out here. And Michael has this similar opportunity, just going to try to see what cards are in the prizes, and maybe we'll switch up the strategy. We did see that very aggressive opener with the Sableye because it was available, and it feels nice to be able to set up the double knockouts when you can, but Alex played beautifully around that and just had Pokemon with high hit points all over the place so that the Sableye was not very impactful.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that can really stop the Sableye in its tracks in this matchup is just those higher HP Pokemon, to make sure that you have that longevity to stick around and really disrupt the prize trade in that matter. Flower selecting, Scoop Up Net into the lost zone feels a little bad, but you had to take the Radiant Charizard there.
Oh, well, you didn't have to last game, but this game you do. He said, ooh, that was a really good card. That would have been nice last game. Let's get it this time. And it is going to be worth a Scoop Up Net.
Now at this point, go for that Pokegear. Colorless Experiment would be so nice to see off of these 7 cards. And there it is, the first one drawn too. That's going to make the decision a lot easier. And with that Colorless Experiment, we'll be able to get that magic number 4 in the Lost Zone to at least go for a Cramorant attack.
He didn't even look at the other 3 cards.
Why do you have to? What else do you want to draw at this point? Another Colorless Experiment just for the fun of it?
I mean, he did save 1.5 seconds. We'll see if that comes into play here. So both these players certainly will understand that time is a factor. Single prize decks, trying to get the job done in 3 games can be difficult. And there is an opportunity where maybe we see this come down to the wire if Michael's able to come out on top.
I mean, I definitely do not think, and minus any weird donk situation aside, that we'd be able to close this out in a decisive winner if Michael's able to take this victory here already with half of our time elapsed. But you never know. There has been crazier stuff that's happened at this point.
I feel like every time I look at Michael's hand, I see 7 ways to switch a Pokemon, and no matter what, there are going to be cards flying into the Lost Zone, and that is to be such a great feeling. Michael gonna contemplate for a second, 3rd Comfey or that Quick Ball. Quick Ball could be a nice versatile option here to get towards that Sableye, but we know how that worked out last time, and you do only have, this will be the 4th card to the Lost Zone, so actually gonna value it, and I like this.
Yeah, and we got to see in the last game that Michael was able to accelerate cards into the Lost Zone just as quickly to be able to get this Cramorant online and be able to deal some damage. Escape Rope, and it will be the Sableye brought in active on Alex's end to make sure this Comfey can still stay safe on the bench. If it's not going to be the Zigzagoon that sacrifice, it will be the Sableye in the spot, and it's better than losing the Comfey, the main way you're going to get, one of the main ways to get cards into that Lost Zone.
Yeah, I mean, you're what a bad Colress, a failed Pokegear away from just not having any play. You need to have those Comfeys available, and you need to start increasing the Lost Zone right now. And Michael showing how impactful that is when you can do just that, taking quick prize cards here, and Cramorant getting the job done here with Spit instantly.
Well, Colorless Experiment will be gained on Alex's end to make sure that you can start getting that set up a little closer. And nice to note over on Michael's end too, Twin Energy found significantly sooner than last time around for that Snorlax to get set up.
That's a great point. You know, that sneaked onto the board there at the last second, and Michael is going to have an opportunity maybe to use that earlier, and that could be nice.
Definitely a good way to make sure you can be taking those knockouts, because you definitely have a lot more attacking options than Alex does at this point with just that Comfey and the Zigzagoon. Of course, just prioritizing other things, but Air Balloon onto the Comfey. Okay, there's a Quick Ball. We're going to be able to get something else onto this bench.
That has to feel nice. Yeah, this has been a little bit of a rough go for Alex. We haven't seen the Battle VIP pass and cards flying left and right. Instead, it's been a lot of hard work to get the job done. Cramorant going to find the bench now, and at least we'll be able to do a little bit there with that Lost Provisions, the 4 cards in the Lost Zone for both players now, and can at least start to stay in the prize exchange. And we also see the Quick Ball and the Twin Energy. Maybe a true mirror match here as Snorlax is found.
Put that onto the bench. Cramorant. A couple of attackers here definitely a lot nicer than the last time around. And Snorlax, considering it was able to win the game the last time around, definitely a nice attacker to bring back the second time around.
Good card. Both players have one boss's orders in the deck. That's the one way to get this Snorlax into the active spot and maybe get rid of it before it becomes a true threat.
Cramorant with a spin innocently will be able to take the KO onto the opposing Cramorant to make sure that Alex is not going to be falling behind in the prize exchange. You can at least keep even going on into this, but of course then that is a free promotion into Comfade to do what it does best.
You see Michael now mulling over the option about a fire energy in there. It can be nice to know where those are and have the opportunity to work in that Radiant Charizard, but you're thinking about opportunities that you're going to have 3 turns from now potentially, and it is nice to do just that because that's what leads to the victories in these spots. This is such a chess match as both players really try to manipulate the prize exchange and have the right attacker at the right time.
Yeah, all of a sudden, if you're just that one energy short, you don't have that fire energy when that Charizard is available and you need it, you can find yourself in a really rough spot really quickly here. But that Charizard, not one we're going to see for a little bit yet because we still have a couple more prize cards that need to be taken before we can get to that point. Escape Rope being played for another Comfy into the active.
I think we do see a really tempting option here for Michael. He does have the boss's orders in hand right now. And that could mean that Snorlax could get promoted and start to target down the opposing Snorlax and remove that twin energy. And I don't think we're going to ever see that again. So that could be a way to avoid Alex getting maximum use of this Snorlax here.
Really thinking it through, making sure the Snorlax isn't just being thrown to the wolves, this is being put into this active slot, since the Snorlax can be such a big difference maker. And after some debating, we're going to go back in with the Comfy. I mean, easy decision here. Mirage Gate will be the other card, and that's going to go straight to hand.
Yeah, I think Alex would have, or excuse me, Michael would have loved to see a switching card at this point. It's not necessarily that having the Comfy in the active spot was the best card, but if you did find a way to do that, you also get the effect of having another card in the lost zone, and maybe getting to 6 now means that you're going to feel a lot more comfortable getting to 10 with the Sableye on a later turn. Instead, going to have to throw away that fire energy for the retreat. Cramorant is going to make quick use of that Comfy, and that boss's order is going to be used in that way.
All right, I mean, considering 4 cards in the lost zone for Alex at this point, it's enough to be able to use the Cramorant, but we'll have to see if this Pokegear can result in the Chorus's experiment, and it does not. Instead, boss's order over on Alex's end for the supporter off of that card.
Yeah, you have to think, how difficult is it for a Pokegear to find the boss's orders if that was a card that you wanted to find? It's only a one of, and both players now potentially could be using that early on here. We see the Cramorant could just go ahead and take the knockout on the opposing Cramorant, but Snorlax on Snorlax could be crazy. It looks like that's going to be a paused situation as Michael had already used his boss, so maybe Alex can work that in at a different time.
Yeah, that boss being used up so early on Michael's end. Sure, it was definitely nice to get that Comfy out, but not having access to that from this point definitely is a nice spot for Alex to be in, knowing that this Snorlax now on his bench that he attached an energy to, has this energy stacked up, could be safe minus any weird thing that Michael might have.
Well, we'll see if Alex has enough ways to attack in this situation. This feels very bizarre. Well, let's go ahead and mention the obvious, that there's only 6 in the lost zone for that Mirage Gate. We've got to use that Comfy first. Now we're going to have 7, and we can see that Mirage Gate come down. But this is weird for Alex, as we see the 2 Cramorant, the Snorlax, and maybe a Radiant Charizard trying to take 4 prize cards. It feels weird when you're not able to get the Sableye into the exchange, and I'm not sure we're going to see that just because of the limit to the lost zone.
Yeah, being able to use that Mirage Gate now that we're all good and set. There is 7 in the lost zone thanks to flower selecting from the active. We'll be able to grab those 2 different energies and attach them. 1 to the Charizard, 1 to the Snorlax. So the Snorlax is all loaded up and ready to go. And Charizard, of course, you want to make sure that it has the fire energy on it so you can go swinging with it when the time is right.
Looks like it's time for a Pokegear now. If the Chorus's experiment could continue to reveal themselves, that'd be fantastic. Looks like we're only going to see the Clara, however, but maybe there's a decision to be made. Looks like Clara and Roxanne. Might be a little early for that.
Might just be So it will be the Clara that is grabbed out of that Pokegear. Save the Roxanne for later when that could be, you know, the deciding factor to let your opponent not be drawing in. This one instead, Clara, you can put the basic energies into your hand. You can put 2 Pokemon from your discard into your hand. Though it looks like at this position with the Pokemon that Michael has set up, he's pretty set up with that.
Yep, could be content there. I think the Cramorant's continuing to stay in the prize exchange here. You're at 4 to 4 prize cards. You're going to take the next prize and be ahead one. And if you could work in the Cramorants at this spot, it just feels like a winning more situation. Your opponent is going to have to take a double knockout on a Comfey at some point, and there's no cards in the Lost Zone to make the Sableye do that right now.
Yeah, it's definitely a big difference between these two players. And so run back of game 1 that Michael was able to get this Lost Zone stacked up a lot faster than Alex was able to at the end. Both were pretty even in the prize trade, but that's definitely a big impact, that Lost Zone and how many cards are in it, because that's going to change what you can be using to try and get prizes onto the other end. The Clara is going to be good to grab 2 Cramorants from the discard and just load the bench up with that. Yeah,
I love seeing this from Michael, understanding that this is a turn where Roxanne is going to be open for his opponent. So just play as many cards down as you can, have these available attackers ready to go, and if the worst does happen here, at least you have an opportunity lined up.
This point now, Boss's order, the Snorlax over on Michael's end to be taken down by the Snorlax on Alex's end. All the energy stacked up and not being able to use it whatsoever, and just keeping even with this prize trade is now Michael gonna put the Comfey inactive.
Yeah, it's always nice when you can remove that Snorlax from play, as that is a very awkward Pokemon to knock out. But we see that Michael was prepared for a situation like this. The energy's already down on the Radiant Charizard, and we really just need to see one more for the Excited Heart to be enough to knock out the Snorlax.
And does have energy in hand as well. And that's where the attach is going to be. Looks like there is the switch card available to get this Charizard into the active from this Comfey. And also benching the Sableye to make sure everything is up and ready. Make sure that this Charizard goes down. You have something in your back pocket, and put Alex in a tough situation. Only going to get tougher with the Roxanne being put into play.
Yeah, I had a bad feeling about Alex's hand. He played so quickly, threw down the boss's orders, and took the knockout with that Snorlax so fast that felt like he was trying to undersell the value of the hand there. And maybe Michael had a read on that too. Is that you know what, let's just play this Roxanne. Maybe I can lock you down and get into a quick game 3.
I mean, also just a nice spot to be in. If you're going to be able to take a KO and then just make sure that there is no way that your opponent can respond to that. I mean, look at the bench on Alex's side, right? It could definitely be a nice situation to be in.
Where's your Comfey now?
Look at all my Comfeys that I have and you don't. All my Cramorants, my Sableye that I'll be able to use with just one more card in the Lost Zone. Alex still only has 4.
Yeah, it is a brutal spot to be. I think Alex certainly understanding how awkward this situation is. The Clara is in hand, the Ryan too. Ryan is at least going to keep the prize cards rolling, as Radiant Charizard only needs that 1 right now to get the job done here. And which card do you go for? Do you try to get the Roxanne and buy some time? At least you're going to be ready next turn.
You just got to make sure that nothing too crazy happens, that things aren't going to be too disrupted, so you'll be able to use that. And knowing that the Roxanne has been used up over on Michael's end, it's safe to just grab something out. You get the energy attachment, you get something that's going to be good going into next turn, and you can return this KO onto the Radiant Charizard.
Yeah, we will see what else is going on here as Michael has to think about the promotion. Which Pokemon do you want to bring up here? Comfey does make a lot of sense, getting that 10th card into the Lost Zone. The Colress's Experiment is also going to be doing that, but maybe another supporter choice could be opened up if you use the Comfey first.
Especially, too, I mean, there is this Charizard in the active spot, but not too many cards over on Alex's end. I mean, Michael has to imagine that there was something that was going to be useful for next turn that was grabbed off of that right hand. But as the moment stands, that Charizard can't attack on the next turn, so it's kind of stuck in that active slot.
I don't know why my brain keeps forgetting that Cramorant is not going to apply weakness. That always seems to be my go-to, and that is not going to be the case, as that is just written right on the card.
That'd be really cool, though. That would definitely be a good way to clear off this Charizard.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little different here, as Michael is considering which attacker would be the best in this spot. The 10th card in the Lost Zone certainly leads to thinking that Sableye would be a nice call.
Yeah, I mean, being able to drop down those damage counters to try and set yourself up in a position where you can take 2 prizes in the next turn could be really nice. The Charizard's kind of stuck minus Alex being able to draw out of it, so it could be the way to go.
It's tricky if you want to use the Radiant Charizard in a spot like this. We do see the Clara, so of course the Pokemon could just come right back into this active spot and knock out the Radiant Charizard, but you can't use it to attack next turn. If your opponent locks you down with the Roxanne, you're in a really weird spot.
At that point, too, though, you could just use this Cramorant to try and clean up the game, because the things on Alex's side at this point don't necessarily have the biggest amount of hit points if you're able to deal with this Charizard in the active.
Yeah, that's definitely the #1 thing is remove the Radiant Charizard if you can. We don't see the Fire Energy, but I think the Magma Basin is available.
Let's see. I think it's played, but instead promoting the Sableye. Maybe instead going to lock it up as a late option. Alex, all right, I can't get past the Sableye, let alone the Charizard on the bench. We're going to scoop this up. We're going to send this into a game 3.
Yeah, that's a really clean play. The Radiant Charizard has already used this attack. You were going to need to see a switching effect. The Sableye is going to take a knockout on the bench, and the Radiant Charizard already had the Fire Energy ready to go, so Roxanne was not going to be slowing that down. Michael all but locking that up, and we're going to see 11 minutes on the clock to see if there is a winner here. If we see early prize cards, maybe there's a way.
I mean, one player is gonna have to get unlucky, or one player is gonna have to have the game of their life, I think, at this point, if we want to see a winner. These one prize decks, that's one of the weaknesses with them, is sometimes they can take so long to play out, and when you're on a timer, that can really be a disadvantage.
Well, it's 2 very strong players. They've been playing for so many years at this point. I think they're going to give us a great show, hopefully playing very quickly. And if we can see at least 4 prize cards, 3 prize cards, there's certainly avenues to closing games out in this spot.
Yeah, especially since you're on your winning, and you don't want to be tying at this point. 2 switch cards over on Michael's end, Comfy, Twin Energy, of course, Experiment. I mean, nothing that's too make or break in either of the prizes. Right, now it's time. Game 3 to get into it. Michael's going first. It's going to be that Snorlax in the active slot and a quick ball to try and get a Comfy or something into play. Yeah,
I think we saw the Comfy top deck or something like that. At least the scoop up net is available. So not going to be staring at this Snorlax for too long, hopefully, for Michael's sake. And this is an awkward spot to be in. Of course, you don't want to take a loss in these stages. 1 point can be nice, but you're definitely looking for 3 at this stage.
Yeah, you want to make sure you can get that win, secure that, especially you want to keep on winning your matches so you can have enough that once you get into the day 2 that you have enough match points to be able to make a consistent run into the top 8. So it will be a Comfy that's grabbed off of this quick ball to make sure that once the Snorlax is scooped up, that we have something else that we can bring into this active slot that's going to be a lot more helpful to the engine of this deck.
Yep, the flower selecting. Are we going to see a Roxanne even be relevant? There's only 9 minutes left.
If we go really, really fast, maybe, but this could just be an easy pitch base off of it. You definitely still don't want to get too caught up in the time and throw away these resources that could maybe help you close out the game, but you just do have to be a little bit aware of it. I think we were able to see which one was quite pitched at that.
Yeah, don't think we saw the Roxanne held onto, so that should be in the Lost Zone. We'll see if we can get that adjusted and placed on the screen for us.
All right, scoop up net was a Comfy going onto the bench to give another opportunity at this flower, selecting Clara and Energy. Does have a Clara in hand, I believe, so could be a little bit easier of a decision this time around.
Yeah, these are not the cards that you want to be seeing at this stage. You'd like to see the Battle VIP passes, the Pokegears, the Colress's Experiments to start thinking about next turn. Instead, these cards are all so bad that you start to wonder, am I even going to be able to take enough prize cards, or are we going to see Michael's pace slow down a little bit?
That's the tricky part of it too. You have to make sure that, especially the first two games, Michael was able to get cards into the lost zone so quickly. At this point, the Snorlax and the Comfey are going to be put down onto the bench and energy and then pass over. And Alex, with that Chorus Experiment to start things off, already going to be able to get 2 into the lost zone and be able to go on from there, finding a Cramorant off of that Chorus Express as well, and now can Flower Select.
Yeah, this is the pace that you expect from a great hand. This hand is gas. There's a Battle VIP pass, and he's throwing it away with the Comfey. So you know that there are going to be a lot of cards flying on this turn.
Yeah, normally that's the card that you want to be having in your hand when you go first, since it's so strong and being able to set up your bench. Alex is like, no, I have enough here. Like, my hand is stacked. I'm good. I'm going to put down this Cramorant as well. I'm going to use this Quick Ball and start grabbing another Comfey and keep on going on forward with my setup.
Yeah, it's very important that Alex keeps up his pace and starts to take knockouts. You have to get at least 3 in order to feel comfortable. Maybe there's an opportunity where that Sableye and the Galarian Zigzagoon could take 2 prize cards in an instance. But, you know, when you get into that +3 turns and you see your opponent use its scoop up nets to pick up these low hit point Pokemon, it's not where you want to be. Just take the prize cards now as fast as you can.
Yeah, make sure you can actually have a chance to win in these 3 turns. It's going to be the Cramorant going to active now. 4 in the lost zone. Will be able to go for a knockout. Was thinking about benching something else, but no, we're going to take the prize. We're going to keep on going forward.
Yeah, the Sableye would have been a hedge against the escape rope, as we've seen Alex do so often. Wants to have an opportunity there, but it says you can go ahead and take a Comfey. I've already taken the first prize cards. That's why I let you go first.
Yeah, this Cramorant is so strong, and it's so easy to be able to get 4 into the lost zone to start things off. Now Flower Selecting over on Michael's end, and you need to find an answer within this turn. You need to make sure you can have some sort of attacker to start putting the pressure back on.
Yep, taking his time with his Flower Selecting. Going to try to make use of which card is going to the lost zone here. This hand is just not good enough right now. Need some help.
Going to prioritize that fire energy too with that scoop up net going into the lost zone. And when a scoop up net's going into the lost zone, you know exactly where a player's prioritizing.
Yeah, it just speaks to how important it is to use the Raihan this turn to maybe get something going. You just need to look through your deck and find some additional help. So the fire energy prioritized so that it can hit the discard pile and eventually be accelerated.
And now Comfey that's going to be grabbed. There it is. Fire energy from that Raihan and quickly grabbing a card. We didn't even get a chance to see what was grabbed from the deck.
Saw.
Oh, what was it? Oh,
it's that twin energy.
Oh, okay.
Wants to focus on the Snorlax. If you can get that going before your opponent has too much going on, you just start removing Cramorants, and maybe you do steal some additional prize cards in this spot. This might be Michael's avenue, and we do see the pace picking up. Going to go ahead and take a quick knockout here on that Cramorant.
It's always so fun to see, like, oh, okay, this is the opportunity, this is the chance, and see how fast those cards hit the table when there's there's that way. So being able to get the knockout, but not waking up, and now Alex, the pace, quickly grabbing the Chorus Experiment off of that Pokegear.
Yeah, the 3-card Pokegear or whatever that was, just, ooh, there it is, go.
I mean, that's what you have to do at this point. Almost 4 minutes left, and now going to be able to pitch 2 more. Look how fast. 7 into the lost zone. It took so long in the previous 2 games to even get cards into the lost zone, not where Alex was necessarily prioritizing or just not having the opportunity. And now they are flying over there. Flower Selecting, Battle VIP Pass, easy. Go. 8 in the lost zone now, only 2 more to have the Sableye.
These are the easiest decisions, but they're happening so rapidly. Alex needs to make sure to play perfectly in the spot, and it looks like he's doing just that. The Comfey is in the active spot now because of the escape rope, and Cramorant is lined up to take a knockout there with the spit instantly. Don't need to worry about weakness in this stage. Going to have the knockout lined up and eyeing up a potential way to knock out that Snorlax on the following turn. If Snorlax takes a prize card, Fire Energy means the end of that Pokemon.
And where Michael's been struggling, Alex is not whatsoever. Look at how fast everything hit the bench, and now the Cramorant being able to get into the active thanks to the air balloon and the free retreat on the Comfey is going to take up knockout. So now just the Snorlax remaining on Michael's end. There is the Sableye in hand. There is something that you can bench here. You will be able to attack as well since you aren't asleep, but it's still, you look at the board states and you're like, oh, well,
yeah,
great.
Well, Michael's looking at the clock because this is a scary spot. Only at 3 minutes to go here. Gonna try to find an opportunity to stay in this game, but look at this hand. It's Sableye and Clara, and you have 3 cards in the lost zone. What are we doing?
I mean, at this point, the Sableyes are only really good to make it so you don't necessarily lose because all your Pokemon are gone. They don't really have any help since you only have 4 in that lost zone. The Comfey, though, instead that we bench will be a lot more useful flower selecting. There was that Cramorant that was there, but still has to decide how important that's going to be. It could be an avenue with 4 in the lost zone now to attack back.
Yeah, this is a really tough call. We see the Pokegear is in there too. That could be the avenue to getting a good hand, but maybe he just needs to rely on the prize cards to help in this point. You can't go down in the prize exchange in this matchup, and it looks like Alex is not going to be skipping a beat anytime soon.
Not doing all the math to see just how far behind with the lost zone. It will be that Pokegear that is thrown into the lost zone instead that Cramorant going to hand and then to the bench, a way to be able to take a KO and make sure you can at least beat. Alex, though, quick to remote the Comfey and try and get something going because you need to make sure you have enough prizes taken that once you get to turns, you can finish off a game.
Well, that decision is easy and unfortunate. Double scoop up net. Gonna go ahead and grab one of those, and I love to see this from Alex. Going to make use of that Sableye now because we see the lost zone reaching 10. Could see an additional damage counter placed maybe on a card like Comfey, and then you can line up the double knockouts with the Zigzagoon, or you can just take the prize cards now, remove double Comfey, and feel really confident knowing that you've already gotten 2 prize cards and time hasn't been called.
And there it is, the Zigzagoon going down twice. Thanks to the stuff, and then being able to take both of these Comfeys down. 2 prize cards and only 2 left remaining at this point, and 1 minute left in regular time.
This is phenomenal. Alex with incredible play here. And honestly, just the right cards. That hand was incredible. Understanding the matchup, of course. Going to say, yeah, go ahead and go first. I don't care. I'm going to get the first prize card and the second and the third and fourth. And here we are now in a spot where Alex might be able to take an additional prize and not even worry about +3 turns at this stage. The Mirage Gate is opened up now at this point, and the Snorlax is lined up ready to go. We see multiple energies in the deck here.
It seems like everything is going right for Alex at this point. 2 energies will be able to go onto that Snorlax and the Mirage Gate and put one onto the Charizard to make sure you have everything set up.
Wow.
Raihan, there's that energy. Make sure both of these attackers are set to go and grab any card that you need to be able to close this out. The scoop up net is going to be the decision of choice from Alex off of that.
This is perfection. We see the clock dwindling at this stage. He's going to try to get the knockout potentially with this time already done, but you have to think the work has already been done. 3 seconds on the clock, going to announce the attack. Of course, Michael has to promote and draw. We'll see which player is going to be +3 turns at this spot, but Michael down to his last Pokemon here, and that's Snorlax.
And just phenomenal. It's not even wrapped up yet, but you just have to really give kudos to Alex and how this was played out. I mean, you're on the timer, but how quickly you were able to string these prizes together to pull off this victory with the timer on the mind in Game 3 was just amazing, especially considering how slow the Lost Box deck was getting going in Game 1 and 2.
Yeah, that was not ideal for Alex. He was just not finding the right collection of cards in Game 1 and Game 2. Michael was really just putting on a show, but the way that Alex was able to manipulate which Pokemon were out at the right times and make use of all of his cards, and then, of course, rely on some help from his good buddy Snorlax, was able to help him get 3 match points when it looked all but lost.
Yeah, that was the win-in, and that was your guaranteed ticket now into this Day 2. Of course, you don't want to stop there. You want to be able to get as many wins as you can. And if the deck is going to perform like that, I mean, very possible, especially in that 3rd game. I mean, Michael played so well, but in that 3rd game just wasn't able to get the pieces like Alex was able to do. And they're very similar lists, they're very similar decks, but sometimes it's your day and sometimes it's not.
Yeah, they're almost identical. I haven't actually sat down and stared at them all the way, but if not, it's at least 59 cards. Both players showing up with an extraordinary list, and we got to see some really quality gameplay. Unfortunate for Michael there to just have a really bad start there in Game 3. Just couldn't get anything rolling, and had all of the cards to help out in the middle stages of the game, the Sableyes, the Claras, but you got to get there first. And if you don't have the cards in the loss,